I'm Aahana Jain, and my mentor was Dr. Farhan Samir. And I did autism funding in Georgia, where I'm from, and this is the social science topic. So, quick background information. So, autism is currently prevalent in every 1 in 36 people at a moderate or severe level. However, underfunding and service gaps continue to persist. With many families who do have a family member or themselves are diagnosed with autism, they tend to pay upwards of $30,000 out of their own pockets. This means it is not covered by healthcare or Medicaid. And only 56% of autism centers, this means that basically therapy centers that are specifically catered towards ages, I would say, 5 to K to 12, basically, and aim to mitigate their the effects of autism in their life. So our research question was, well, what we were researching is we're investigating age limits and funding caps for individuals with autism in the state of Georgia and whether it is below or on par with the national average. So in this, quickly, just funding refers to the state allocated financial resources specifically for autistic individuals. And a no-cap funding model means that by the state, there is no predetermined monetary ceiling, and it usually means that it depends on the severity of, and it's case by case. So the methodology, I went around and gathered data from 50 states, all 50 states, and they were from government websites as well as Autism Speaks, which is a website which I think is the largest nonprofit covering autism in the United States. So the variables that I investigated were the maximum eligible age that you can get funding for autism, the annual funding ceiling, the programs and services covered by each of these, and there is a cap versus no cap funding model. There's comparative analysis across states as of right now. I am planning to do countries in the future, and I would later identify common patterns in age eligibility and financial support. Oh. So this is the findings for the funding. So it would range from anywhere, the lowest point would be $33,000 to $50,000 annually. Now, that's a very drastic change, and I think 3,000 was like some state in the middle of the United States. The median, however, was around $20,000 per year. It is important to consider that despite no caps having the most amount of states, uh, many of them require extensive documentation, and the wait time for approvals to take for anywhere from months to years, and this can often result in the severity of autism increasing drastically, as well as other consequences. And 16% of funding requests are approved approximately after a year. So this is the findings for the age. The most common age cutoff was 18, then 21, so mostly around that time. This usually differed in states which were trying to help them ease into adulthood, as opposed to just sort of cutting off their funding the moment they reach university level. The lowest would be Texas. They an outlier with 9 years, and they after someone turns 10, they do not provide funding anymore. Georgia provides funding up to 21, and I think it also provides funding about 30,000 annually. And the IDEA law is a federal special education law which influences age limits. So by the law, they're technically required to have a minimum age. So common patterns I saw throughout my data is that I was having difficulty finding comprehensive and reliable data concerning autism. It took me, I think, hours upon hours just to get data on how much funding the government provided to individuals because they were so vague about many of these laws. And another thing that me and my mentor decided to do was read Data Feminism, um, which is published by MIT, and everyone read it because it highlights the importance of data in research and policy, and the reason why many of the current data is often not representing minorities and rather is meant to sort of benefit already um, influential powers and structures. The sources often reported different funding caps and program information. It was difficult to find sort of one number across the board for many of these states. And consistency and reliability of sources were limited. Even finding it through the government, they were often kind of vague. It would be like from this age to this age, the way they would define if you could get access to the funding itself was very vague in itself as well. So here are some policy recommendations from what I have noticed. So number one, easier applications to funding would make it the process much easier for people from lower income brackets and education levels to apply. Um, the next one is to extend the age limit beyond 21. So rather than restricting them at the age of 21, to allow them to live a life if they still continue to have severe autism, they should increase the age limit as the European Union has and decrease the number of requirements so that people who are relying on Medicaid or can't afford these services can get access to funding. So, in conclusion, although Georgia's policies meet the average age requirements across the states, it fails to provide for the funding that it lacks in compared to other states. Furthermore, Georgia has a higher reported waiting time rates in contrast to other states and areas. So, future endeavors, I'm probably gonna research the European Union as well, since they have far more policies which are more considerate of individuals with autism. Hopefully, we can implement these policies in real life and get change within the state of Georgia and reaching out to professionals to make it more impactful and effective. And that's it. I would like to thank Talaria Summer Institute for this wonderful opportunity. It helped me a lot in understanding these systems that are already in place, as well as understanding more about autism in itself. And my mentor, Samir Farhan, I really, really thank him for helping me understand what systems were already in place and the effects these systems have in our society.